Let's quickly talk about what Terra Luna is.
And here I thought Ron OG was original gangster, but all right, old guys it is. Malaysia is looking at making Bitcoin legal tender, but could Bitcoin become the reserve currency of other altcoins as Terra Luna bolsters its Bitcoin reserves? Meanwhile, Ray Dalio's Bridgewater Associates is preparing to back its first crypto fund, and Goldman just made an OTC trade that could lead to widespread Bitcoin institutional adoption. But should the focus now be on the second largest cryptocurrency, Ethereum, as Ethereum 2.0 edges closer? Who better to break all of this down with than Ran Neuner? He is the founder of Crypto Banter and the co-founder and CEO of Onchain. In 2017, Ran launched Crypto Trader, the world's first televised cryptocurrency show on CNBC. And Richtopia has also named him one of the world's top blockchain experts. Good to have you back with us here on Kitco, Ran.
So nice to see you, Michelle.
All right, Ran, so much to discuss. I want to get your thoughts on Ethereum and on your top altcoins, but let's start off with Bitcoin and these big Bitcoin headlines. And one of the headlines that I mentioned has to do with Terra. Terra is one of the fastest growing blockchains. It uses the token Luna, and the founder of Terra, or Luna, Duo Quo, recently bought about $125 million worth of Bitcoin, saying it's going to serve as a reserve asset. Now, the thinking is that this could be a really big step for Bitcoin as a reserve asset or currency, not just of Terra Luna, but potentially of other protocols. So how significant is this move for Bitcoin status?
It's a very significant move. And if you analyze the move even deeper, you'll realize just how genius the move was on Do Kwon's behalf. So let's quickly talk about what Terra Luna is for those people who don't know what Terra Luna is. Terra is a stable coin, and they call it the stable coin UST because it's pegged to the US dollar, but it's not pegged or backed by anything. It's algorithmically pegged. So that means that every time a UST is created, a Luna is burnt, and every time a UST is destroyed, a Luna is created. And so it's an algorithmically backed stablecoin, which is quite a new concept in money, an algorithmically backed stablecoin. And it could make investors pretty nervous. And so the one thing about this kind of algorithmically backed stablecoin is it's super important that the algorithmically backed stablecoin maintains its peg to the US dollar. Because if it doesn't, then you could get what they call a death spiral. Because it depegs, then people sell it because it's depegged. That creates more Luna. And it creates a spiral where it keeps depegging and depegging and depegging. That's very dangerous. So what did Do Kwon do? He decided to back a significant portion of UST with Bitcoin. So he could have backed it by US dollars, but he made the call to back it by Bitcoin because I guess UST is a completely decentralized stablecoin, and backing it by any US dollar equivalent would kind of centralize the protocol. So this protocol is now significant or going to be significantly backed by Bitcoin. And today we saw the first $125 million being bought. I guess that was probably what was responsible for the spike in the Bitcoin price. And this $125 million is the first of 1.5 billion, which is then becoming 3 billion, which over time will become $10 billion worth of Bitcoin that's going to be bought. And so I think part of the reason why we had the spike in the Bitcoin price this morning is because everybody saw that the first $125 million was being bought, and they probably thought that a lot more was following afterwards. And that's why the price went to like $43,000 before it came back down to $42,000 and then settled somewhere in between at $42,500. They know there's a buyer in the market, but they don't know when the buyer is going to press the trigger. And that's pretty much where we are today. Now let's go to the more interesting thing. You spoke about Bitcoin becoming a reserve currency. And
right.
You know, in the traditional financial system, what you have is you have the US dollar, which has become the central currency, the currency that the main currency, let's call it that. the equivalent in the metaverse or in Web3 or in the crypto world or in finance 3.0, whatever you want to call this alternative financial system, could very easily become Bitcoin. And I'll explain to you why. If you think of the 1800s, late 1800s, all money was backed by gold. The world moved on the gold standard. That was pretty much how everything worked. And if you compare the properties of Bitcoin to the properties of gold, you'll realize that Bitcoin is very, very, very much like gold. It's completely scarce. You have to mine it to extract it from the algorithm, so to speak.
Right.
So it's very similar to gold. It displays a lot of the same properties as gold. And I think this move is quite a significant move because, you know, if Luna gets this right, then it could become the basis for many other coins to create this reserve currency using Bitcoin to protect their assets, so to speak.
Right, so that, I guess, is the big deal here, that it could become the reserve asset or currency or the digital gold, as it's already been referred to, of other protocols. What would that mean for the price of Bitcoin?
Well, it would mean the price of Bitcoin will continue to go up as it has been for the last couple of years. But I think there's something here that people aren't talking about. And that is, for years, there's been a divide between the Bitcoin maximalists, people who believe that this entire blockchain movement is around Bitcoin. And there are a lot of Bitcoin maximalists. People, for example, like Michael Saylor. Michael Saylor is very much just a Bitcoin man. And there are many like him, and we call them the OGs, the old guys in the space. And for years, they've been very anti-altcoins or any other coins.
And here I thought Ran OG was original gangster, but all right, old guys it is.
So Do Kwon managed to get the Bitcoin maximalists to start liking an altcoin, because how do you not like an altcoin that is backing itself with $3 billion and maybe $10 billion of Bitcoin? And so now you've got all these Bitcoin maximalists all of a sudden talking about an altcoin, which is something we haven't seen in the crypto space for a long time. They're talking positively about an altcoin. We haven't seen that in the crypto space for ages.